Okay, here's our next project, YouTube. We got a blinker that works going to the right and not to the left, and no four ways. Whoop, it's trying. Oh, I gotta hold it in for it to work. See? So we got this guy. This conglomeration of mess is your your turn signal indicator, basically. Kind of clock spring-ish. They don't really use clock springs because there's not a whole lot that goes through the steering wheel on these cars, these older ones. But this controls the blinker when you turn your wheel to the left or right, turning it on and off. And a lot of times if it goes bad, it won't even actuate the signals. So we're gonna do some diag and see what happens. On top of the blinker issue, we've also got a horn that doesn't work. So I tested the horn, just ran a power and ground to it, and it sounded off like a champ. So there's definitely either an issue here or at a relay or somewhere. So we're gonna track it down. Also, we're gonna be working on the blinkers as well. The horn cover just basically snaps in, just grab on the back, pull it off. And I'm not gonna show you all the steps of this because it's a kind of tedious and long process. I'll take some stops here and there and show you guys what's going on. But this piece right here is what pushes down and makes the connection for the horn. There's a wire that comes through, I believe. I'm gonna have to take it apart and find out, but I've done this once before with my Cherokee. It's been a long time ago, so we're gonna learn as we go again and try to see what we can figure out. Okay, got a couple of sections off. So this is where you get down to this white plastic collar here with the 3 screws is what reaches through these 3 holes here, 1, 2, and 3, and holds this rotation collar. You can see the indents. It's actually supposed to sit up against the 3-way of the steering wheel. So when you go to put that back together, don't crunch it by putting it off wrong, or you'll end up breaking it. Also, kind of stack stuff in the order it comes off. This piece here with the circles and the slots in it, that's actually a spring plate, so you want to make sure that that goes back on the same way it came off. So we're going to get this taken off and then start pulling some trim. This is where we're at. You do need to pull the dash part to get, well, I don't know, you might not. I was trying to figure out how to get to past a certain point. There's this collar here, it sits like this. I couldn't figure out how to get it off. Was trying to figure out another way also to get the shroud off around here, but there's 3 little tabs inside these big openings here that you got to pry open, and this column will pop off. And then this is the fun part here, is that if you look real closely, push down on this, there's a little snap ring right there, right at the base, that you got to get off to allow the rest of this to come off. Also think I figured out why the horn isn't working. Right in here in this broken spot, there's supposed to be a little rod that connects between there and the spring plate to actually close the contact to make the horn work. So we'll have to see if we can maybe rig something for that, and we'll keep going here. Okay, so this is all from a steering wheel puller kit from Harbor Freight. That compresses this spring down so you can get to the actual snap ring that's right down there. I just turned that nut by hand. I didn't have to get a wrench or anything on it. And then also it has the actual steering wheel puller device there as well. Kit from Harbor Freight, works pretty good. We're gonna get that snap ring out. It is spring loaded, so you just need to be careful on the way out. All right, so here we go. This is the little culprit right there. It's a little pain in the ass. I actually used a set of snap ring pliers to get it out, and then a combination of that and some picks to get it all the way off. But that holds this metal ring on, that then holds this plastic ring on, and then here's your spring behind, and then this is the piece we're trying to get to. Now it does function and click. Let's see if I can get it to go back. See, it functions right, but it doesn't return when I hit the when I turn it back. So there's a mechanism that's broken in there. Also, so the screws, there's one that goes here, one that goes here, then you actually got to turn it that way to get to the last one. Also be sure to take off your 4-ways. That's the just a screw as well, Phillips screw. Be sure to take that off. And now, as you can see, she's loose. But now we got to worry about the wiring part, which is going to be the fun part. Oh yeah, there's also this little bracket guy that sits in there, connects to your stem down here, and is actually what controls the stem through to the mechanism. So we'll get to the wiring and figure out what's next. Okay guys, so it is now 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I started this project about 1:30. Yeah, I hope I never have to do this again, because whatever you do, if you're ever changing out the cylinder or this blinker assembly or the multi-function switch or whatever else you got to replace, see those bolts 1, 2, 3, 4? Don't ever take those all the way out. I made the mistake of taking them all the way out, and a little bracket fell out, and then I had to actually cut open my steering column just so I could get everything back in there. And because this thing's like actually screwed from underneath inside, so I don't know how they fucking did it or whatever else they did, but I spent 3 hours trying to put this thing back together just to this point. So all you have to do to loosen all this so that you can snake these wires through, there's 4 bolts here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 2 bolts up here, 1 on each side. If you loosen all those up, it'll allow this bracket to move around and allow you to separate the steering column and allow you to get that out of there. Now if you have a long pick or a stick or a long screwdriver, you'll be able to get the connector and the wiring all through down here. So you shouldn't have to undo those 4 bolts. My God, it was a horrible mess. I was about ready to call the tow truck company and just tell them to come take it to the scrapyard. So we'll get it all back together and see how it works. All right, YouTube, so follow up. We have blinker working on both directions now, and when I turn the wheel, it'll turn off when I come back, both directions. The steering wheel's not centered, so I gotta play with that a little bit. And we have 4 ways. So there's still an issue though, because the left blinker doesn't always work. So I opened it up and there's a lot of corrosion in there. I think there's still an issue with that, but as of right now, we're making some progress. The oil pressure gauge is working good. Blinkers are working good, intermittently. And I'll show you guys a clip of the taillights in the next video, and we will keep moving forward with projects.